Thank you, Reverend Fleet, and good morning. And as I welcome you again to Interfaith Spiritual Center Worldwide, where we believe there's a power for good in the universe greater than we are, and we can use it at every single moment of our lives. And what I love about our way of life is that we direct the energy, and that where thought goes, energy flows. And that's a quote by Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, the laws of science, the opinions of philosophy, the revelations of religion applied to human need, and the aspirations of every living soul. That when we look at the laws of science, the cause and effect relationship, as within, so without. I know the ancient Hindi called it karma. And energetically, we know that through the laws of life, what we put into life returns unto us. So life is an amazing learning journey. And as we learn each lesson, as we come together and acknowledge the quote that Einstein stated, which goes hand in hand with what Reverend Prince Fleet just shared with us, is that imagination is more powerful than knowledge. That creative aspect within us that moves beyond the appearances, the conditions, and the effects of life that show up on a daily basis. And we can so easily give our power away to these outer things. But what I know is that when I go through my own challenges, that God is my source. And that as we acknowledge that we are in the world to live, to love, to laugh, to express, to weep, to shed tears if we need to do that. For every tear that falls, a flower grows in consciousness. That we are open to this magnificent thing called life and its direction. So today, we've been doing this whole thing on Through the Looking Glass and moving through what needs to be moved through, right? And creating another reality for ourselves. And that as we move through the looking glass, this morning's topic is a tea party that matters. And what I know is that, I've been to high tea all over the world. And I just love tea. And I have a little book and it's called Everything I Learned Over Tea, which is probably very true on many, many levels. And as we acknowledge the energy that comes into our field of awareness and those that we call to the table. And for me, I want to call to my table all those that want to move to the next level, that are about their Father, Mother, God's business. And as we acknowledge that we're about our Father, Mother, God's business, that energetically everything unfolds in a way that allows us to deal with it through being conscious. And when we are consciously aware of what our journey is and what taking one step in front of the other, coming out on the other side, learning what we need to learn so that we can then go out as the ancient Bodhisattva did with healing, helping hands into the marketplace. And I believe that we go through these experiences so that we can serve other. And I love the quote by Schweitzer, I don't know what your destiny will be, but this one thing I know, the only ones among you who will be truly happy are those who have sought and found how to serve. And when we have sought and found how to serve, then all of our sufferings are redeemed and we're out. And we're allowing our light to so shine that everyone and anyone who sees our good works glorifies that energy within us, that everyone and anyone is uplifted in our energy field because we are putting this energy out. We're all subject to the human condition. As our humanness gives way to the divine, the Christ consciousness arises triumphant and victorious. Remember, Jesus was from Nazareth. And as his humanness gave way to the divine, what did he say? Be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. I have overcome the world of these effects, these conditions, these judgments, these criticisms. Be of good cheer. I have overcome. And when we have overcome our own inner demons and the things that have bubbled up for us, our fears, our doubts, our cynicisms, as that bubbles up and out, the purity of who and what we are comes forth. So a tea party that matters, who are we going to gather around us? Of course, the Mad Hatter, I think all of us have had the Mad Hatter at our table, and, Tweedledee and Tweedledum and some of the others. But as we evolve, as we unfold, we call to the table energetically all those who are going to forward and advance themselves, others, and ultimately the planet. One of my favorite people, I feel, at the deepest level, was Golda Meir. And the Prime Minister of Israel, when they were going through so much with the Holocaust, and they needed to raise money for the influx of all the refugees that were coming in from Germany and Poland and other countries, Italy. And here is Golda, when she had heads of state come in to her little living room, she would make tea, and she would make little cakes and serve them in her very humble little living room. And what fascinated me about that is that she was just being who she was. But isn't it interesting that the Prime Minister of Israel chose the feminine? And the feminine is the sensitive. The feminine is the energy. It's the right side of the brain. The left side of the brain is the masculine. And so as both hemispheres interact one with the other energetically, we have the opportunity to access what needs to be accessed. So he chose the feminine, and she went out and she raised funds and had, heads of state, prime ministers and heads of state in her little living room serving tea and little cakes that she made herself. So it's, when we look at, the big picture, it really is energetically the small things that create the big things, and that it is about relationship and making the longest journey on the planet, the 18-inch journey from the head to the heart. And the heart is the doorway to the soul. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And it's heart opening. So as I look at my own life and who I've had around my table and extending love, not everyone receives it. I've been in the ministry 46 years this month on October 12th. And I've been through some amazing experiences, just amazing. And what I know is that not everyone can receive love. I can only love you as much as I love me. And when the Bible states, love thy neighbor as thyself, it presupposes that you do love yourself. You love the energy within you, that Christ consciousness, that Buddha nature, the holy I am presence. That flame burns eternally within the heart and soul of each and every one of us who acknowledge that, yes, be of good cheer. I have overcome. So who am I going to have at the table here? And of course, I love in Southeast Asia that if you happen upon them and they invite you in and they give you 1 cup of tea, that means that you're acknowledged, as an acquaintance, that you're acknowledged, you're invited in as a special guest. With the 2nd cup of tea that you are given, you are a friend, and you're taken in as a friend. And if you are given a 3rd cup of tea, you are family. I will go to the ends of the earth for you. You are family. So this morning, as we give one another our 3rd cup of tea, realizing we are family. When I was traveling to Norway as part of the Nobel Peace Prize Commission, nominating the Reverend Dr. Emanuel Ida for the Nobel Peace Prize, I flew over to Geneva, and I met with the President of the United Nations in the European sector, the Honorable Carol Hansen. And we met in a hotel, and I had met her prior at the United Nations. And she had something that she put into place that bears repeating, because she said, we have patriarchy. Has it really worked? Not really. We have matriarchy. Has it worked? Well, not totally. Let us raise our hands for familyarchy, that we are all part of the human family. Each and every one of us, we are intimately connected. Let me offer you that first cup of tea and bring you in. Let me acknowledge with that second cup of tea that you are my friend. Let us join together in unity with this third cup of tea. This past week has been International Oneness Week, and acknowledging familyarchy, that we are all deeply, deeply connected, regardless of color, race, creed, sexual orientation, or political affiliation. We are all intimately connected. And when we acknowledge this connection, even in those moments of absolute frustration, and I had a few incidents this last week where I was very frustrated with the discussion I had with someone. And I just had to go within, really breathe, and then stand my ground. And this was related to something I've been going through for 2 years. And so, I would go to the doctor, and a couple of times I was in the emergency. But whenever I was there, the symptoms did not show up. So it, just looked like all is well, right? But we know on the intuitive level that when we need to really press through and get to the bottom of things, because clarity is power, and to be your own advocate is power. And so it was related to my heart. And 2 years ago, when I was in the emergency, they said it was something else, very minor, like acid reflux response. And so they increased. And so I went within and, just blessed my heart. And as ministers, we know that we all operate with the heart. And I was doing a study also about all the great teachers and avatars and sages of the ages, and it was interesting to see how the heart always came up, because the heart is the window to the soul. And when we operate with our heart and we open our hearts to one another, that energy is so healing. And then to know when we're in the serving, the helping arts, when to allow ourselves just to go within. And I meditate twice a day. I'm on my slant board. I've been doing yoga for 45 years. I'm in the mineral hot springs every evening. I believe this body is a temple, and it's the temple of the living God. And so I requested a heart monitor, and he gave me one. The doctor gave me one for 24 hours. And I said to the nurse very strongly, I feel minimized. I feel not heard. I feel this is an appeasement, because I never know when this episode is going to hit. So she's writing. I said a few other things. She said, I'll couch it in such a way that he will respond. So the next day I received a call for a 30-day heart monitor. And then the very next day, it did what it does now. It's doing this quarterly, then bi-monthly. And I went into this episode. And then you press a button on the heart monitor and it directs the energy to the cardiologist. So I received a call from him the next morning. He said, I do have a diagnosis for you. So I felt in myself empowered that which needs to be healed is healed, that which needs to be revealed is revealed, that which needs to be known is known, and that which needs to be released is released quickly, gently, and with grace. For eye hath not seen nor ear heard, neither hath entered into the heart of humanity the things which God has prepared for them that love. When knowledge is power, and the clarity of knowing what we're dealing with. and to be our own advocate, and to use our intuition in such a way that when we know that something is off and needs to be corrected, and we open. And this is why, again, I love our way of life. That which needs to be healed is healed. That which needs to be revealed is revealed. That which needs to be known is known. And that which needs to be released is released quickly, gently, and with grace. And I had powerful people in my organization praying for me, because we know that prayer is the most powerful energy in the universe. And that Dr. Larry Dossey, MD, said, hey, if you're in a hospital, get a prayer team around you. We'll give you the westernized medications. But he said, I believe it works, because as a young intern, he had a patient that was really dying, but he wouldn't take chemotherapy. He wouldn't do any of the therapies. But he did have his church group come around his bed and pray for him every day. And pretty soon they saw that he wasn't there. And Dr. Larry said, well, I just thought that he had died. 2 years later, he was in for some sort of a flu situation that he was in. And he said, oh, you're here. And there was no sign of the cancer. It had lifted. So we know that prayer, speaking our word, knowing the truth, is so powerful. And yet I know that when I'm ready to move off the planet, I'm going to let go and let God. I'm going to move off this planet. My granny, my tobacco chewing granny from Oklahoma, on the third, she was in her rocking chair, and on the third rock, she rocked on out. And I feel like when it's our time, we let go and let God do what God does best. If we have immortal longings, and we know that the angels lift us on wings of love and light. So as we deal with the situations that come up, and we are knowing the truth, that truth is eternal. So today, I invite you to my table for a tea party that matters. I offer you the first cup of tea and bring you in. And the second cup of tea, which acknowledges you are my friend. And the third cup of tea, you are my family. And it's about joining together as one human family, knowing the breath of God is the breath within us, and the breath within us is within the breath of God. And that this breath goes forward energetically and embodies our entire planet. There is a spirit within humanity, and the breath of the Almighty hath given them life and understanding. Through this sacred understanding, we open to the beauty of life. We acknowledge that, yes, come into my little parlor like Golda. I offer you tea and cupcakes. Are you a head of state? Are you the Prime Minister of England? Are you the President of the United States? I offer you, here is my little parlor in which I can give you of my substance. And as we give one another of our substance, something amazing happens, isn't it? We feel that oneness. Yes, imagination is more powerful than knowledge. And as Mother Teresa said, and I want to leave you with this, peace begins with a smile. And that we're about tipping the scales in favor of world peace and universal love. Peace begins with a smile. So I say to you, namaste. The divinity within me salutes the divinity within you. And the divinity within you salutes the divinity within me. And if I am in that place in me, and you are in that place in you, there is only one of us. Namaste. I say shalom, the peace that passes all understanding. And God bless us, every single one. And so it is. And it's a joy